What's up, everyone? We are back for the 11th episode of Kofe Talk, a podcast designed to connect you to individuals in the sports community while we indulge in a cup of coffee. Our next guest is the Director of Football Branding and Creative for Auburn, Jeff Hanel. Jeff, how are we doing, man?
I am excited, even though it's what time is it? 7:34 p.m. I am drinking coffee, freshly brewed.
Yes.
Pretty excited. I actually missed my coffee this morning, so this is really good right now.
Yeah, you'll just be up for the next 4 or 5 hours.
No, I could crash. I can
Really?
drink this like it's hot tea or something and go to bed. It's amazing because I just drink it black.
Yeah, that's awesome. First, let's talk about this new position. You went from being director of post production with athletics to director of football branding and creative. What has that transition been like for you?
Well, just to kind of talk a little bit about what I did before. For the most part, I made video board content for football, made big hype videos for football, but I mainly spent my time on the road with men's basketball,
Yeah.
helping build a lot of what was going on there for the last 4 or 5 years, which was absolutely amazing and a ton of fun. But again, still do video board content,
Yeah.
plus all the other stuff, making home videos, making all these other things for athletics as in general, and doing all that. And then now transitioning into football and just doing all of that for football.
Okay.
And then, the other thing that I guess sometimes I forget about how much easier it is in recruiting when it comes to basketball versus the animal and the beast that is football.
Yeah.
And, being a part of that where I know I've never been that heavily involved in
Yeah.
what's going on, and then learning, learning a new role. Like, again, I want to grow. And that was one of the things that I loved about the opportunity to be able to do something that was insanely challenging. Also with the new staff,
Yeah.
there's a lot of excitement that's there. I'm not a young guy anymore, but I am thinking about my future and my 4 or 5 year plan. And, I know that branding and creative is what I have a passion for,
Yeah.
and something that I really enjoyed doing with men's basketball. But I had so much else going on as a creator at all times. It was very difficult to kind of hone in some things and, flex some of those muscles in my own brain or not flex, to massage those muscles
Yeah.
on that side of thing. And so it's been, and it definitely has been challenging. I think everybody has challenges in a brand new job. But the thing is getting to learn how you work with people, because I love people.
Yeah.
So you're around brand new people all day. So you get to see how coach works, how the other coaching staff works, how staff works, how actually the recruiting department works, what are their needs, learning a lot. I don't think, even though, man, this is hard to,
Put into
I
words,
can't,
right? Because like
right.
football programs, so like it's so different from everything else that just happens in the world.
Right. There's just so much that's involved.
Yeah.
And everybody has needs. The
Mhm.
staffs are large, and everybody has very specific needs, and you can only do so much, and there's only so many people, and there's only so much time. I know one of the things that's very difficult to work through, which again, I'm up for the challenge. I'm excited about the challenge, is when everything is a priority.
Yeah.
You've got this linear priority. Like, it's just one line. That's it. Like, there is no 1A, 1B. Everything's a priority. And it's just like, oh, and for me, I like to accomplish things. And so
Yeah.
being able to accomplish,
Yeah. No, I
it's
totally
difficult.
know where you're coming from.
And,
Yeah.
and again, I'm such an honest individual with this stuff. Like, there's no sugarcoating what this business is like. It's hard. But again, you also got to you got to love what you do. You love sports. There's certain things you want to be able to do. Like me, I know who I am in one word, and that word's effect,
Yeah.
with an A, with an E, but with an A. I was put on this earth to affect. Like, I know it, and it's something, I feel it in my bones, and everything I do, that I am attempting to affect. I want to, have a kid that comes in for the very first time to a Auburn football game, and they watch the video board show, and they remember that when they're 22 years old, or when they're 18 years old going to college, that time they saw this video by such and such. Like literally, they can just tell you all that. Just do that to one person. You do that to one person, it changes everything, because then you get a fan for life. You get a recruit for life. You get all these other things. You get to tell those stories, and that goes to the part of the effect. I want to tell stories. I love to tell stories. I'm not a big effects guy, even though I've done it, been there, went down that road. I probably did After Effects 90% of the time at the beginning of doing this job. And now I've gone all the way to the cinematography side, going to storytelling side, and purely in editing, because, and I think some of it is because I'm at Auburn. At Auburn specifically, I know every place, every school says family. Every school says family. I know at Auburn specifically, and this is why I say this about Auburn being different. Auburn is a small town. Small towns are very family oriented because everybody knows each other's business.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's 29,000 students, I think. And I think the total population with students is 60,000 people.
Right.
Most people don't realize how small it is. And that's why but the town, because it's not a city, the town and the university are one.
Yeah.
You know, in a lot of places, the town and the university are completely separate from one another.
Been in Philadelphia. I was at Temple, was at Georgia Tech, and, you know, in the city of Atlanta. I had a stint at Marshall for 9 months, but it was very early on in my career. And I can't really say that I was as inundated in a football program or anything as, you know, you are now. And, Huntington, West Virginia was a little bit more like that, very town, like, dude, they fill the stadium every Saturday. And I was like, this is insane. Like, I was like, you know, this is, you know, Marshall football, and, you know, they don't do that everywhere.
I mean, think of what I just said. We have 60,000 people, including students, at Auburn, but we put 87,000 fans in the stands for every game. And then every other year we play Alabama in the Iron Bowl, and we become the third largest city in the state of Alabama.
Like
it's over 100,000 people.
You
know, it's crazy to think about that. Like it's, and that's where, when I talk about that family side of things, and family's all action. Right. So that's how we connect with fan bases, that whole family atmosphere of, you know, they want to know every single player. It's one of those things that I know was a key priority for me for men's basketball. No one knew any of the players. No one really knew a whole lot about BP, even though BP sells himself all day, like unbelievable human being. But, you know, I know when people started coming up saying, oh, Malik, or saying this person in the stands, and saying all the players' names, people knew every single player on the team, and they knew what their personality was. They knew what they were good at, and all those things. It makes you feel good that you did your job.
Right.
You know, because our job is to still also educate. You know, we're educating our fan base of what we're doing. And the whole thing, our generation, we don't go to libraries. There is no Encyclopedia Britannica or anything like that you got to read to get information. Everybody's on this bad boy. And this thing is what we look at all day, every day for information. We're trying to educate ourselves. And so we should be able to do that with our content. And at least that's what I think of when we're doing that. Someone should be learning something when you do it, so you have actual value.
We would always talk about it as you're like the window for fans, for recruits, for everybody to really like see what's happening inside the program. It's such a fun job, right? Like, it's exciting. There's always, you know, being a creative, you always have like you're always telling stories in different ways, and coming up with new ways to tell the same stories. I mean, like a football season and off season, it doesn't change much, right? You're going through the same motions, just, you know, continuously trying to get better. And as a creative, you're doing the same exact thing. The same stories are there. It's how can you day by day get better at telling those stories in a different form, a different fashion, an engaging way. And I think that's what makes our job so cool.
Very. I know one of the things that's always the biggest struggle is finding the value content versus the quantity content. Quantity is it's a necessity. There is a necessity in quantity, but you shouldn't quantity all your quality, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is, like, everything can't be here. Like it just can't.
It's impossible.
Has to be a different, right? There has to be a different. You have to differentiate, I guess that's the word,
Yep.
between it, because it's I've said this a whole bunch of times to people. I was like, when you decide you want to do all this really great content all the time, it's just like when you go home for Thanksgiving, you have that one meal or that one thing that's there, or that casserole that you eat. It
Yeah.
is your favorite thing, and you think about it. You can't wait to get it every single year. That's what you're doing with your content. Should feel the same way from your fan base.
For
They
sure.
want it. But if you ate that every day, you wouldn't want it anymore. And I find it happening quite often where we desensitize everybody from what we're trying to do, because you're trying to do so much,
Yep.
and sometimes we overthink it. There is no perfect recipe for what anybody's doing, because every place is different, just like every person is different.
Yeah.
But I think we've all heard it. It's like the 80-20 rule. Like you got to try to go for the 80%. If you focus on the 80%, you're going to do your job. You focus on the 20%, you're leaving out the majority.
Yeah.
And that's where it's difficult, but you do have to still hit that 20. Like, I'm not saying you don't do that, but
yeah,
I'm getting into philosophy and some weird stuff right now. I don't think this is what you were really asking.
No, this is amazing, because I think one thing that I've typically talked about is like how do you get into the industry, but I think it's just as important as how you stay within the industry and really continue to like build on your processes and get better and make sure. I mean, you just switched to this new position that is very different from what you were doing, minus, maybe the shooting, the storytelling a little bit, but the program that you're working within, the coaches that you're working within. I mean, I don't think people realize how different
the management that's involved.
Yes, a program can be from just like coach to coach. Now, my question for you is, did Coach Harsin, did he push for you to take this position? Was this already kind of in the works as something that you were looking to do, or how did that happen?
I'll be completely honest about it.
Yeah.
I had no idea, or was I trying to work with football at the time? And I was unsure of what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to do more. I wanted to be a branding and creative director somewhere. So I was looking. I knew I couldn't just, I think like COVID was different. I know getting up and down on a baseline, I just don't think I could keep doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And then honest, big facts. I am 44 years old. I am not a young man.
I would not have guessed that. I would not have guessed that.
But I'm 44 years old. I'm an old guy. I love what I do. I feel like I've got a lot left to give.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there thinking, okay, this year I turned 45. So in 5 years, can I still be doing men's basketball, doing what I'm doing, traveling every day, and just being in that same position? Is that where I want to be in 5 years? And it wasn't. Yeah. Now, again, that has nothing as a negative to say about men's basketball or Auburn men's basketball, because I loved every moment of it. I would love to be the branding and creative director for men's basketball. Like that would be a thing, but that's not a thing here. You look at money, like this is pure honesty. Like I don't know the real figures, but like men's basketball, $8 million, football, $60 million.
Right.
It's a completely different animal. And like, for instance, myself, like, so it was crazy. I was just sitting there thinking about those things, looking at stuff. And, then one day football calls and asks me a question. I said, hey, you want to come over? We'd love to meet you. So I met them and they're like, we don't want to sit here and just talk a long time. We want you to come over and work. And I was like, wow. Okay. So what does that entail? So then we just kind of discussed for a little bit, and then kind of the rest is history. They wound up coming to me in a time where I never even went to them. They came to me when I was looking, and it was on campus, and I didn't have to leave. I love this town. My family and I love this town. Yeah. My daughter is 14 years old. She's 4 more years, she's going to graduate and be in college. This is an opportunity for that 4-year, 5-year plan, to see where she's going to go. That's an exciting thing. But I mean, like I said, like I may be 44 years old, but I have not been in this business since I was a teenager. So like
Right.
this business didn't exist then.
You started, was it a furniture store? You were
Yeah,
producing content?
Ivan Smith Furniture. Like I was actually selling cars at Holmes European Motors when I
Okay.
first started doing this stuff, and I quit that job while we had just had a daughter. My daughter was born, so she was like a year old. I quit my job and went to Bossier Parish Community College to do a sports film, like just figure it out, like because I went to a Northwestern State football game, which was the old school that my wife and I met at, went to a
Yeah.
homecoming game, and the video board was not on.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is it not on? So I knew the AD because he was still the AD from whenever I was in school, and went and talked to him, and he let me talk to Jason Horn, who was the associate AD, and they were like, yeah, whenever you want to, you can go up there and figure it out. I was like, okay. And that's really kind of where it started. And I did that for free for like 3.5 years while I
Oh
was working at a
shit.
furniture store. I drove there for an hour. Sometimes on Thursdays or Friday, I would film all the content I needed on Friday, would make all the content, put it on the video board, Echo Lab switcher. I'd use the switcher V7000 for the Daktronics board, had to talk on the telephone with them to figure that out.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
ran SDI cables all the way from the press box all the way to, because I didn't know what else to do with the Canon cameras to be able to have 3 camera shoots, and we talked to each other on walkie talkies, like,
Yeah.
and also ran the replay on the Do Re Mi's and did all that stuff. And that was kind of like how I started, but I was in my 30s
Right.
when that happened.
That just blows my mind because so I'm 27 right now, and I started in sports at I guess I was 19 years old. Didn't really know what anything was. This digital content world was just really starting up. I think Clemson was doing a pretty good job of it. Ohio State started doing, some shit. I'm at a very small school in PA, Bloomsburg
Mm-hmm.
University. And to be honest with you, they had like an SID department that just did everything. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting in there and I'm working. I hate doing stats. I hate doing, I'd be up there, writing game notes and doing those whole 9 SID things. And I was just like, this is definitely not the job for me. But I knew I was passionate about sports, and I wanted to be in this world. So somehow I got introduced to like InDesign and Photoshop and Premiere and this whole creative lane, and started getting into it, and luckily was able to kind of work my way into Temple. Was under Coach Collins, and then I was hired as brand manager when he went down to Georgia Tech, and he brought me along with him, and it was extremely exciting moment. But like I can't imagine, and it was always a big fear of mine, like how do I keep up? There's kids in high school and younger than high school like playing around in these programs, and like when they come
Mm-hmm.
up, how are you supposed to compete with dudes that have been making TikToks forever? Or how are you supposed to compete with guys that have just been on their phones and been on social media and been doing the whole nine since they were born? Because I'm 27 and I wasn't doing those things. So for you it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's even more amplified than that. And it's interesting to
And I love
hear.
it.
I would like, well, yeah, it keeps you young, right?
Right. I mean, I don't know. It's I know I'm an anomaly.
Yeah,
I think all of us, here's where I know I've run into, like, I love working with everybody. I want people doing stuff that are better than me because I
yeah,
want to be challenged on a daily basis. I like to learn.
yeah,
You know what? And I can learn from anyone. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you've been, what industry you've been in before. I just want to learn.
yeah.
And it's exciting to be around all of that. Like, I mean, again, I love and hate TikTok. Like, I don't make a ton of TikTok
Yeah, yeah.
um content. I'm going to make more, but man, I tell you what, once I open it, it's like an hour later, I'm like, oh my god, I've been scrolling for an hour.
Dude, it's the
And
most
I
engaging content there is right now. It's
like
crazy.
I can't stop doing it. And it's
Yeah,
like, no, how can we take that and amplify those things? That gets me excited to think about that. But again, there's so many other things that you have to do. How do you do that? I mean, what is this new? There's a new platform.
Clubhouse.
I have No, I've been on that too, but Triller.
Triller. Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it or
I
not, but
I, I haven't, and I'll probably
go
shouldn't
look
say
it
that,
up.
right?
Like it's gonna be a thing. Like it said it here first. Maybe it's probably gonna be another one of those things that people. I think it's music. Again, I hadn't really had time to figure it out yet.
Yeah,
So,
well,
but
I'm
it's
gonna
very
get off
much.
of this and study up on what that is, because if I don't, I'm gonna get my ass ripped by my boss, and I don't want that.
It's very TikTok-ish, but all it's like music driven. I think, man. You know what? I don't have enough to talk anymore about it besides the
Yeah.
what it
Well,
is.
so
And it's funny. I saw it from an artist. Is who I saw it from. So
okay.
Lecrae posted a copy of it on his Instagram stories, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay, I'll go at it. And then there's tons of people on it, and I was like, oh, this is a thing. I had no idea. I need to spend time, but that's as far as I've gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it was recently, so I'm not too far behind the eight ball here.
Very recently.
Good. Tell me a little bit more about what you're doing on a day to day, because I've been a brand manager myself, and that was at Georgia Tech, at Temple, and we kind of had our processes. I think the title is kind of thrown around in different variations around the country. And what does your job entail? And then kind of like, what are your short term and long term goals in taking this new position?
I hope to be able to, again, this is my education side. I hope to educate. I want to reach those that aren't Auburn fans and have them know that Auburn is not in Georgia, because most people think Auburn's in Georgia, or
Yeah,
they
yeah,
don't
yeah.
really know where it's at.
Yeah.
Auburn is not a private school.
Yep.
War Eagle is a saying, not a mascot. Like these are things, we do roll Tumor's Corner, but telling them why.
Right.
And that story of where it's there, like, again, just educating people on what Auburn is. And it doesn't always have to be football, but football is the biggest way to be able to see that. But being able to hit those sides of things, to be able, when people go Auburn, yeah, like they know a lot about it, is this own place, because we have done that job, because branding should be just like Apple.
Right.
When you see the apple, you know what it is.
Yeah.
Right. I also go back to like when I sold cars, like for instance, Mercedes. Mercedes, for example, everybody wants the star.
Yep.
They know they want the star. But Mercedes is very smart about their marketing. Look at all their cars. What are the names of their cars? It's a C300. It's a whatever. It's a letter and a number.
Yep.
But what does that mean? When people go, when someone drives a Mercedes and someone asks them, what do you drive? They go, Mercedes.
Right.
They don't say C300, because
yeah,
then they're
matter.
like, what's that? Mercedes. And I
yeah.
want the same thing to be said about Auburn. When you
Right.
say Auburn and you think of football in Auburn, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Auburn.
Yeah.
And that is, to me, that is a big deal in my mindset of where I want to be. Now, getting there, there's all kinds of journeys. Everybody has their own philosophies. Everything we do is recruiting, 100%, all of it. But there is a difference between recruiting a specific athlete and then recruiting in general, that you're still recruiting that specific athlete.
Yeah.
So finding ways to be able to do that, and the challenge of not doing what everybody else is doing and being true to who you are. I do follow trends, but I don't follow as much of other college teams, nearly as much as I think people think I should, because I follow more pro teams than anything else. And I follow, and it's not just sports teams. Like, for instance, even though I'm not a big car nut, I do follow what the car industry does.
Okay.
I enjoy how they tell a story. I mean, look at any ad that's ever been on television. When you watch a car commercial, like use Volvo or Ford, for example, they're very family oriented. Like, watch it. It pulls at heartstrings.
For sure.
Shoot, even Budweiser commercials, beer commercials, pull at heartstrings, because it's a feeling. Like when you're in a car, you drive a car, you can tell how fast you're going, whether you're hitting bumps or the car sucks because you can feel it in the gas pedal. There's different things that you can feel, vibrations. Same thing, you drink a beer, it definitely makes you feel a certain kind of way.
No doubt. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's feelings, and I am a feeling individual. And I believe that is my philosophy. That is my goal, to be able to get that feeling always there with Auburn, because I believe that in its core, that is what Auburn is. It's a feeling that you can't explain, and that is my job to do every day.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective on how you do that, and I agree with you. I think pulling,
and this isn't the only way to do it. Like it's
for sure. I
to-
mean, it's right. It's very subjective, right? Just like creative subjective. So is all of it. But I sit with you in the same seat of, I didn't love when I was in college football. I think you have to be aware of the trends that are going on and all those things, but being aware and then just like following suit to exactly what everybody else is doing is two completely different things. And I think it's like, how can you pull inspiration from different pockets and different industries? And I mean, nothing's brand new in total for the most part, right? I mean, everything's been done to some extent, somewhere, someplace, sometime. But how do you kind of recreate that and put your own stamp on it and your own spin and make it your own? I think was always the most fun thing to do. I was less video early on in my career, and I was more on the graphic design side of things and social media management side of things. And then video is obviously the best way to tell a story, in my opinion, because you can have that more of that feel, behind and pull that emotion that you just can't do in a static graphic.
Right.
And I went through tons of challenges and I think similar to yourself, like I kind of love heading into a direction where I kind of feel uncomfortable. And
you're comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you have to be in order to grow, right? And that was one of the most important things. And video storytelling to me was something that wasn't exactly natural either. So I kind of had to go and pull inspiration from other places, and I didn't necessarily want it to always be like a reiteration of something that I've already seen from XYZ school. And I think there's a lot of people that do think it has to be that way. And I think, and I don't know your opinion on this, I would love to hear it because you've been around it, is like coaches ask their creatives for X, Y, and Z because they've seen it. It's a recruit has said they like this version. How have you kind of dealt and navigated through those things and just like making sure that you're like, I totally understand where you're coming from, coach, but what if we, turned it this way, or what if we did it and sold this way? So we're not exactly doing the exact thing, because I think like that's a hard conversation for a lot of people to have, right? I mean, they're powerful positions and they're in that hierarchy. And
I do this all the time. And this is, I think this might be my middle name around people because of what I do.
Okay.
Every time I graphic or a video that gets shown to me, what I want to know is, why did it affect them to want to tell me?
Okay.
Like, tell me, like, for instance, I'll use an example. There was a Michigan graphic that was used, and it was like, I want this. And most places, and what happened even around when I first got around was like, okay, we need to make this Michigan graphic, like verbatim. I was like, no, let me talk and ask why. Why is it? Well, I like the colors of it. Okay, cool. What else do you like about it? Well, you can see all their winning tradition and blah, blah, blah. So you like tradition. Yep. And you like the colors. Why? Because it's clean. Cool. So you like clean and you like tradition. So let's go make a graphic that's clean and tradition. Right. So I just asked to find out what we're going to make, because everybody's already made all of it. Like, for sure, everything's been made. It's just what's your spin on it. And we can't get caught up in the fact of, okay, I want this video. Clemson made this video and I want it just like this. Well, what was it that you liked about it? I want to know, because
does it show personality of the player? Does it show that tradition?
No, it shows what our whole, like, every are. It shows what we are.
Right.
Like I want it to show off because we wear the same uniforms for home and away and have for umpteen years. Like it's different than anybody else. I want to show that off. Cool. For me, I always think it's funny. Like I would love to just do a uniform reveal like every game for Auburn because it's the same.
Yeah. I love that.
like this big anticipation, epic music, like do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Same
uniform.
Same.
I love that. Yeah.
But I mean, I think we all get caught up because we are pleasers as content creators. We want to please.
Yeah.
Because I don't think everybody necessarily wants to be thanked for our job, wants to be, you know what I mean? But we do want to please people, and we want to know that we made a difference in a positive way.
Yeah.
And we want people to be happy about what you did for them and all those things. And I think sometimes we get lost in the fact because someone's asking for something, you got to do it verbatim. And the hardest question to always ask is why? Because think of it when you're a kid. Like my kid does it all the time. Why? I'm tired of hearing it. And I know other people want it just because. And I think, and again, being older in life, in some ways, I feel like there's some experiences I've had that have helped me be able to navigate through things a little bit different.
Yeah.
Being a parent is definitely been eye-opening in how to talk with people. You got to take it down to the basic levels sometimes because think of the things that you're high level at.
Right.
Like you're so high level at these certain things, but man, you're like, I really suck at organization, or I can't, my structure is straight garbage. I'm never going to.
Are you describing me right now?
Right. It's like, and you're just going, and then you see those people that are at high level at that, like someone that is high level at structure and organization gives me anxiety. Like
right.
What they talk about of me to do, I'm like, oh my, I am overwhelmed. I can't.
Yeah, you like get like claustrophobic almost.
Right.
Like,
and I literally become paralyzed. Like it's
yeah.
It's insane. So, but think of that with the coach. Like the coach needs you to be at your high level and he needs to be at his, and somewhere you got to find, and the only way you can get there is asking why.
Yeah.
Right.
And explaining whys. I think one thing, so I was on the opposite end. I didn't have a ton of experience heading into the sport, and football's different. I mean, like there's high standards within the program that everybody has to meet. And it's an expectation that you meet that standard. And I got into college football and I played some sports, through school and those things, but I didn't play at the college level. I didn't, I'm 150 pounds. I mean, Christ. But I got into the football culture and I was shocked at first, but because I was so naive to what the culture actually was, when I would step into Coach Collins's office and he would ask me for something, I would give him just my straight up thought, because that's what I was like, that's what you pay me to do. So that's right. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And, you always do it in a respectful way.
Absolutely.
And you always, have a why. I was never just like, no, coach, we're not going to do this, or X, Y, and Z. No. But I would have strategic thinking behind whatever I was proposing or, trying to shift or navigate through and educate on. And that was the reason why I grew so close with him. I think if I wasn't naive and early on in my career to what football actually was, I don't even think I would have been brought down to Georgia Tech when he ended up making that jump.
I mean, honesty is the most amazing thing.
Yeah, it really is.
And again, I can give all my strategies. It doesn't matter. Like my strategies are more theoretical in a lot of ways. Like,
yeah,
we live in a world of fake. All I want to do is show real.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's all I want to do with the players, with the coaches. Like, I will tell you one thing. Here's a crazy thing. I don't know if you know this or not, but Nebraska put out a video on their quarterback.
Okay.
They cussed in it. and they bleeped in it.
Yep.
I've been wanting to do that for years. Real. Don't hide it. Don't fake it. Like we live in a society that everybody's offended by something.
No doubt.
But and I think everybody's scared to do certain things, and that's why fake is so rampant.
Yep.
But if you can be open and honest and real, here's a coach that says this. He is saying this to the players, and yes, they're being reprimanded right now. Show it. They're human.
Yeah.
I am thankful for the reprimands I've had in my life because I learned something from it.
Yeah, and sometimes you need it.
Right. Right. And it's okay. And to show your fan base that this really happens, to show that, and then to show the reaction from your players of responding to that, you build equity and who they are as humans. And
because they're doing it out of love and they're doing it out of care. I mean, they don't just like, motherfuck you to motherfuck you. They're doing it because they love that person and they love that player and want them to get better and push to be the best version of themselves.
Those players are not stars, like 5-star, 4. They are not the star. They are also not a statistic.
Right.
But a lot of times people in our roles help promote, and it's not a fault, but help promote the statistic of this 5-star is going to be the savior of this. And all we do is show the great things that they do.
Yeah.
And, we've now built this pedestal so high that when that person ever has a falter, it's just like, oh, this is awful, blah, 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 blah. This is what I thought, blah, 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 blah. If you show that person, this person's working hard for what they're doing. This is what they do in the community. They do these things. Like, this isn't me showing it because we're trying to fake something. Like, this is who the dude is.
Yeah.
This is who they really are. And you get to decide as a person whether you want to follow that person or follow that mentality. Because then also we get into the NIL thing. You still got to be able to talk to athletes themselves and go, yeah, like every athlete that I talk to, I go, okay, when I did this at men's basketball, like when you would ask someone, what are your favorite brands that align with who you are?
Right.
Like, sorry, I'm pointing at your camera. Who you are. Like, so you have to know. So if, for instance, you want to be sponsored by McDonald's and McDonald's wants to give you a sponsorship, but you hate everything that they stand for because of what they do or something that they do. I'm just using that as an example.
Yep.
Why would you ever take that sponsorship? Is that who you are? Like,
you really have to ask yourself those questions.
Right. Like, there are people that, I want to wear Adidas all the time because they pay me the most amount of money, but does that brand talk to you?
Yeah.
Who that brand is that a part of your personality? Because the only way you're ever going to be a true supporter of that brand is know your own brand. And all you do is just bring that into yourself. And those are things that need to be discussed and just educated on those sides of things. We're not sitting here trying to be agents or any of those things, but have that good thinking of who you are. Fast forward, do you really want Billy Bob's truck stop to be your sponsor? When NIL comes around, it's like, but you don't give two craps about Billy Bob. You're never going to do anything for Billy Bob. Actually, Billy Bob's actually a bad person. You didn't even know it, but you just did it for the money because an agent told you to.
Right. And now your brand's associated with Billy Bob. And yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And is that what you want? Be like, I think you should be very selective of what you want to do. Don't
you should be. I mean, at the end of the day, they're seeking you more than you're going out and seeking them. And I think,
are you going to sell your soul for $1?
Right. Yeah. And I think one big thing is, and I get a little bit frustrated on the NIL side of things, and
because I don't know enough about it.
Right. Exactly. And there's too many statistics coming out promising and saying, these different things. And I'm very close with a lot of the athletes at both Georgia Tech and USC right now. And when I communicate with them, I mean, like, I'm pretty upfront and like, hey guys, like, we don't know what this is going to look like, but regardless of that, I was helping brand athletes 5 years ago, and I'm going to continue to do that the same way that I do now, that I do now and
Right.
that I'm going to do in 3 or 4 years. Sure, maybe
Right.
some tactics and those things change, but the fact of the matter is like, branding being important isn't a new thing.
Right.
Having a strong brand has been an important thing forever.
Right.
I mean, you go back 20 years and
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan playing in the league, having a strong brand was pretty fucking important. NIL doesn't change those things. And I think that's where my
Facts.
head and kind of like what my feeling about the whole thing is. I think, it's obviously important. I think programs, need to do it, but they needed to be doing it
Right.
since the beginning of time.
Right. And
um,
then again, I think sometimes it gets overcomplicated in what it is.
for sure.
Again, a lot of it is still what you're doing. Like, I mean, that's why they're at XYZ school,
Yeah.
because the brand was already built and they want to be a part of that because they know that that brand brings them to this brand,
Yep.
you know.
100%.
And that's what and if as long as you keep doing that, then it's all going to be, it's all like, it's actually just it's not as complicated as conversations that I've had.
I totally agree with you. I mean, and we're on like J1S. We're a branding agency, and we work with our college football programs. And yes, we have like an educating program to dive into the analytics and those side of things, and that's all good and dandy. But one thing we don't do is we don't sit there and we're not going to tell our athletes that, hey, we're going to put X amount of dollars in your pocket when
Right.
this whole thing opens up, because it just wouldn't be true. We're going to set you up to have as much success as you allowed yourself to also have success in, because it's a lot of work to go and brand yourself. And that's kind of the lane that we sit in. I want to take a step back here, because I've never been part of a program that has had a new coach come in. Tell me a little bit about that experience. I've been with Coach Collins as we jumped into Georgia Tech and kind of changed the culture and did those things there, but I wasn't already at the spot that a coach came in. So what has that been like, and what challenges have you seen? What are positives that you have also seen, and how have you kind of just been navigating through this change?
I mean, honestly, I've just been building relationships.
Okay.
Like, first and foremost, getting to know who people are, getting to know the players.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of helpfulness on the side of things. A lot of the players knew what I did for men's basketball, because
They're like, yes.
and they're like, we want this and this. And so they already know. And so and I love having those conversations. One of the things that's been a real cool positive and negative, I guess, at times. So like, I'm on the coaches hallway. So my office is with all the coaches.
Yeah.
So the players and coaches come walking down, and I try to leave my door open as much as possible. So even when I'm editing and working, like, I can always tell at a certain time of the day, like, I can feel people looking, and then it's like the whole DB group is looking through the door watching me edit.
Hey bro, what are you editing?
I was like, hey, look, you're actually in this right here. Like, come check it out. And then, because here's the thing, like, I try to demystify some of this aura of things. Like, yes, you can talk about it. Yes, I mean, I'm always open for ideas, but here, go put it in the idea box. Like, I'm not going to always do everything that's stated, because there's so many things to go on. But man, I would love to hear what players are thinking.
Yeah.
And then also educating players. Players want all the popular music. Well, that we could get dinged and the account disappears and no one ever sees any of your content anymore. What? That really happens? Yeah, and you got to pay for it. Those are,
no doubt.
But they're like, nah, let me pick the music. I was like, sure, you can pick it. Let's see. We don't have the rights to that. Don't have the rights to that. And they're like,
sorry,
what do you mean? I can put it on my TikTok. I was like, well, we can't. It's different.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just one of those things, because they don't know that. They just think we're picking crappy music because we're not good at picking music, but at the same time, there are things that go, okay, hey, here's some things that we can look at. Is this a style that you like? Is this something you would like to hear more? And that helps me. I'm a music person. That's what I got my degree in, was music.
So, no shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
My wife and I left Northwestern State in Natchitoches, Louisiana in 2002, right after 9/11, and went to Australia. and graduated from a conservatory there. Played with Western Australia Symphony Orchestra. Uh, I again got my degree in music performance, and it's a part of my life. I don't play anymore. I haven't played in, wow, 13, 14 years,
Yeah.
maybe,
But it's
maybe
still such
more
a big part of your
of
job,
everything I
and
do.
yeah,
Like
and how you,
music,
like you said, you affect people is that's huge.
and music is my number one thing. Like
Yeah.
music is first and foremost. Before I ever even do an edit, music is first.
Yeah.
There are times I'll go out and shoot where I've already got the song in my head. Sometimes I'll even put the headphones on and listen to it while I'm doing what I'm got to do. And I'm like, okay, I got this part. Okay, oh, here comes that section again. Just put it on repeat. I'm
Yeah.
like, I feel this, you know. But
Yeah.
but maybe the game starts to change. I go, yep, no longer am I doing this music. This is the style that we're doing because this is the feeling of going on. I want people to experience the game like they've never experienced before. If I'm doing a highlight video
Yeah.
of that game, they need to experience not what they felt at home. They need to actually feel what it's like on the sidelines, in the locker room, to be at that game, to be a student athlete.
Yeah, you really need to like help bring that to life. And I love hearing that you're on the same floor with the coaches. It was similar for me, and I think that's so important. And like, you're a coach essentially, right? I mean, it's the same. Like,
Don't
no,
don't
not a
don't put
coach.
that bad juju on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, those kids, they look up and they come to you
Hmm.
as if you are. And
Hmm.
no, you're not coaching X's and O's, but you are coaching on your craft and
Hmm.
what you do. And I think that's extremely important. This podcast is this we're going for a good time, man. I'm liking this. I think we're gonna break some records here. um, but give me an obstacle within your career. I think like everybody kind of hits those bumps in the road. And then how did you either overcome it, and what did you learn from that?
Like
Okay.
learning to ask why was
Okay.
one of the hardest things for me at first, because I just wanted to please.
Yep.
Because at the same time, I mean, when I started, even though it was like 12 years ago or whenever that was, this industry just really didn't exist. Social media, I mean, look at 12 years ago, like that was like what, shoot, was it 2009 that Twitter got started?
Yep.
Is that, or when people were actually using it?
Yep.
You know, like, again, that's when I kind of started my journey, was when Twitter came out. I started my journey when YouTube, I mean, I still remember posting links from YouTube to Facebook, and you can embed it to Facebook, and it was beautiful and it was
Yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
and you had you actually you could use Facebook and you could use YouTube, but YouTube was your one spot shop to get all your video.
Yeah.
It was great, because I mean that's the hardest thing to do in this business, is like to have a truly valuable brand. You've got to be able to have, like, where's that central location that people can get what is important to them about you.
Yep.
There is no real central location because it's all over the place and it's for different demographics.
100%.
It's so difficult.
Yeah.
But you got to think about it every day of what you do. Sometimes it has to be the same thing across all platforms, but it should not be that way. But sometimes you just got to be able to facilitate it. You got to be able to grow. You got to make sure that everybody's happy with the content that you're putting out.
Yep.
But learning, I would definitely say, like, also learning to not be as honest as that, or maybe that's not the word. Honest isn't the word. maybe to not be as, I speak my mind all the time.
Yep.
Tastefully, for sure. But learning to speak up when you're supposed to, in the right situation. Like there's times where I probably rub people the wrong way because I was so honest about some things, and it's never intentional, because I'm just trying to get better, and I'm trying to get to the root
Right.
of everything, because you got to be on the same page, and I'm struggling being on the same page, so you got to work through those things. I will say, in my career when I was at Baylor, I knew that I needed to make a change. I love Jeremy Otter to death. Like, he was my boss that was there.
Yep.
Jeremy was younger than me. He was going to stay there longer. Like, I was never going to get that job.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to move and progress, I needed to leave.
Yeah.
And that was, but I didn't want to leave because I was comfortable where I was. but that was a big step. I needed to make that choice for myself. If I wanted to go to that next level, I needed to leave. And that was really hard to do because I enjoyed my time there. I loved living in Waco. I mean, at the time, like it was amazing.
Yeah.
Again, I left, but all kinds of stuff happened after I left.
Yeah.
But I was there for the best moments, except for their just current national championship that just happened. I guess outwardly, I still won a national championship because Davion Mitchell was here at Auburn.
Dude, it's
before he left.
It's crazy that you say that, because like when you're going through those moments of like, that you need to make a change to continue to grow, but the situation that you're in is so good and it's so pure. I'll tell you, like, so I got this job at J1S in the beginning of last football season, and was obviously I was extremely blessed and such an unbelievable opportunity to continue to do what I do, but then also grow in a position that I was somewhat unfamiliar with, while I still get to do things that I am a little bit familiar with. And my last game was FSU, Georgia Tech. We went down to FSU and we ended up winning. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I fucking was crying on the sidelines because like you get so like close with those guys. I mean, I've been around those coaches for 5 years. I've been around the players for 2 years, and I love them wholeheartedly. And I was sitting there. Right. I was like, one of the hardest things I had to do. And I even, sit back today and I'm like, I still get to work with Georgia Tech, and I'm extremely blessed that I still get to do that. It's not often that you still get to be around a program when you leave, but it's still not at the same capacity. And like you miss it, man. It's like, it's hard.
I will say that it's a little different to get connected with the athletes in football versus basketball for me.
Okay.
Because there's so many.
Yeah.
So many athletes.
Yeah, that's true.
And when you talk about hard moments, like for me as a storyteller, being in the locker room for the Final Four loss, was one of the hardest things in all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
It was amazing to have a coach in BP that everybody got kicked out of that room, but he made sure I stayed in. And I mean, CBS was kicked out, ESPN was kicked out.
Yeah.
They were trying to kick me out, and he was like, absolutely not, he stays.
That's awesome.
And that's an amazing, and then to be there, but at the same time, like I'm emotional. Like those guys just lost in probably the worst fashion imaginable. It's gut-wrenching, and you've got to capture it. And I'm not capturing it because I think it's like sadistically, I'm trying to catch you in your moment. And I was like, but I'm not. Like, think about what you were then. Don't you want to see the emotion with your comrades, with your teammates, with your friends, with your coaches, and those conversations that happen? Like, I'm not sitting there just trying to, oh man, I can't wait to show this person crying. That's not what it's about. It's really about being tasteful for what it is and documenting what happened. Because think about all these stories. Like look at Last Chance U for the basketball thing that just came out. Now, again, I don't mean to tell everybody they didn't win the natty, but their journey, it doesn't take away from the journey of where they went and how hard it was to get there.
Because it's so human. It brings you to such a human level.
Right. You don't win everything.
No.
Like you don't always like. Does it really mean that a bad thing happened that you lost?
Yeah.
Is it really a bad? Think about what you did, how you grew. Now the things that you're able to do, you did something that no one's ever done, ever in the history of Auburn basketball, ever. You did that, and your names will be etched in that until someone else does it differently.
Yeah.
But you'll still be the first.
Yeah.
You'll still be the ones that started it. And then being able to do those things, like people forget that. And I guess that's where I get stuck in that little.
But that's the here to when you describe it. I mean, you have a craft for it and you have an eye for it and you understand like the documentation and like you can see it. That's not everybody thinks in that space that you're thinking in. And
And see, and I feel like everybody does.
because it comes so natural, right? It's like that, that that's a story and that's a thing. And regardless win or lose, to have that moment as a player, as a coach, as a program, it's important to have, because it's a moment in your history that shapes you one direction or another. And
I just like that whole thing for me, like just when anything happens, I always feel like it's a positive.
Yeah.
I am, and you are what you are today because of we've failed at.
Yeah. Because of your losses.
People say failure is not a negative.
No.
We are who we are because of our failures.
Yeah. 100%.
But again, what's really happening is that we're learning from our mistakes. We're learning what not to do, or we learned what to do.
For sure.
In this situation. And I think for us, like, we are growing as games are happening all the time. That's the biggest difference. We are not movie people. We don't do we're not documentary filmmakers either in a lot of ways, because we don't have that time to redo some things or have 90 people there to shoot it. You or one other person, and you've got to capture everything that just happened. And some people have TV shows and all these other things you got to do, and you miss the best play of the game. There's no getting it back.
Nope. No, you better be a good problem solver, because
right. So like, how else can you spin this story without showing the best moment that happened?
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, and it's happened.
I mean, if you can sit there and say that it hasn't happened, that you're just fucking lying.
Right. I can't, like, this last year for me, COVID, I don't know what COVID did to me, but it messed up my brain. I have more clips of just my camera walking around than I have of action. Like, every game I've got like a section where like my brain farts, and I somehow double record, and I'm like, oh my God, I just missed the big dunk. Or I went to football practice for the first time, and the first 3 clips that I knew were amazing, I didn't get any of them. Was doing after I shot it. Yeah. Just my feet.
It's just like the grass.
Right. It is. And it's unbelievable. Like, I literally, like, the first frame of it is exactly what I wanted, because it's framed beautifully. I see it. God, and then as soon as I click on it to play it, it's like off the frame. Now I'm walking. It was like, no, it's the worst.
I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I've had like moments where like I either thought I got the shot or I just recognized that I fucked up, and I'd be like, I'd be in the camera, I'd be fuck shit bit, like I'd be cursing at myself, and I would be like, oh man, how did I just do that?
Yep. Man, there's some shots whenever during the Final Four run, I was tired because that was a long haul, but there was times where I yelled at the refs, and you can hear me like
one of those moments where you're being very honest.
I'm like, yeah, I was pretty honest. and I get to hear it later. It's great.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you carving out the time. I always ask one final question, and who would you like to see on this podcast? Here upcoming.
I mean, you did graphic design. I don't know if he's been on here or not. Have you had Sammy Silverman on?
I have not had Sammy on yet.
Man, he's the most humble dude I've ever talked to in my life.
Yeah.
Man, that dude, industry changer.
Yeah, he really is.
Made all of our jobs really hard.
No doubt.
And it made his job too hard that he's now running his own business. It's like, I ain't doing that anymore. Thanks.
How do I hold this standard?
So
that's a good one. Yeah, I'll definitely hit Sammy up. I've had the pleasure of.
And see, this is coming from a video guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think of Sammy all the time.
Yeah, he's legit. I mean, he really has helped shape the industry and has done things that, I mean, just I look at his work and I'm like, fuck me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He does such a great job. So
yeah. Have you had Josh Blessing on? Do you know who Josh Blessing is? He used to be at Minnesota. He now works for Elite Edge, and he does pretty much all the editing.
Yes. I do know who he is. Yeah.
So yeah, Josh Blessing would be great.
I'll hit Josh up. He does. Yeah, he does some phenomenal work too.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's a great
his
dude.
work's fucking sick.
Derek Ochoa at Texas, like another great dude. Matt Lang.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all like.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just keep going. Matt Turnquist. I don't know if you've had him on here as well. Like, I mean, there's just I have a lot of friends that, I mean, I like hearing, and this is what's great about our industry. Like, we all want to talk about what we do in a way that it helps educate ourselves to get better, because nobody has all the answers, but we always hit roadblocks. And we find those roadblocks, and we find those people, hey, man, how are you dealing with this situation? How are you dealing with this coach? How are you dealing with this player? How the heck did you get the access to go do that? How did your university allow you to do those things? You know, like, how is that happening? You know, like, what did it take? What's your crew look like? How's your student program built? You know, all these things that you got to think about, like, how are you doing this? Because this is my roadblocks. You got to have somebody to bounce those off of, and everybody's so great to be able to help do that.
Yeah, it really is such a close-knit community. It is awesome. And you, I mean, everybody gives you pretty much like free access to their
right.
to their
I don't have any secrets, because you know what, if someone beats me at what I do, then that's my fault.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't care to keep anything to myself. I don't think that gives me security in my job. You know, security in my job should be that I'm doing my job. If someone's doing my job better somewhere else, then good on them. Like, heck yeah. Now, Jeff, get your crap together and do this thing.
Yeah.
You know?
It pushes you. I mean, you're helping raise that standard and pushing to get better. But yeah, man, like I said, I really appreciate
it would be all those people
carving out this time.
No worries. I could talk forever, because it's good for me, I guess, sometimes this is refreshing. It's been nice because you get stuck in the grind and it just doesn't feel like you're doing a lot. And then you start talking about it, you're like, holy crap. Like, I actually
I've been working,
you know, and it's been good things, you know, and you know, that I don't know. It's nice. It was just, to me, I feel like I got a little bit of extra energy.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I appreciate it, and
for that.
And yeah, no doubt, man. This has been a good one. I can't wait to chop it up.
You got to ed out a lot because I just ramble.
I don't think so, man. I think I just let people listen, like, you know, they were sitting here with me.